Hey guys, good morning. Well, whatever time you're watching this video, Cole here is going to be my beautiful sidekick, moral support for my YouTube video. But I figured I would do a sit-down video, a little more organized for students who are taking accounting classes or about to take accounting classes. And I just thought of 5 good ways to get through the difficulty and things that I would advise for students on that route, because it quickly changes from your business classes. Once you get into upper level accounting, it is really hard, at least it was for me. So that's why I thought this would be a good video. So share it with people that you think it might be helpful for, and let's get started. So I am a recent graduate. I graduated last May. It is now February, so it's not quite been a year, but I'm also a full-time auditor now. I started in September. I took additional classes after I graduated to qualify for the CPA exam. You have to have 150 in the state of Tennessee. So I did take 5 additional classes. I graduated with 135 credits. Then I had 150. And now I am taking the CPA exam. So currently studying for the hardest section of all, FAR, which has to do with all of the financial accounting classes that we will be talking about in this video. So I think the number one thing for any of your accounting classes, really any of your college classes, is time management. You must master time management. If that is a weakness of yours, try any way you can to improve that. I know I started taking it seriously sophomore year. I was really aware of all the free time that I had that I didn't realize I had, but like gaps in between your classes, your drive to work or your drive back. My sophomore year, I worked an hour away in a whole different city, and that was an hour there and back. That's 2 hours on top of the shift I worked that I couldn't study. And so I started recording the lectures of my professors, listening to them in the car, and that really helped me, especially the professors that talk so fast you can't even take good notes anyways, even when you try. I also started, probably my junior year, that was when I started taking Intermediate 2. I started waking up early every single day. I slept in every now and then just because your body needs rest and everything, but I was big on naps, so I would wake up early, I would exercise in the morning, then I'd get my day started, go into all my classes, I would study, I would take a power nap, no longer than 30 minutes, and that helped me, just saved like 2 or 3 hours every morning that I could be more productive for the day. You have to prioritize your homework, which I'm sure you guys have mastered since freshman year. Once you realize things are due a lot sooner than other things, you should probably do the ones that are due first. But also, I think that was important for me was the bigger projects. Like if you have a final project, they tell you about it, I don't know, first couple of weeks of class. Go ahead and start planning the topic you're gonna do or whatever the project is, who's gonna be your group partners. Think about that ahead of time, because you will constantly be dreading it and you're gonna be stressing about it for the entire semester, and there's no need for that. Go ahead and plan out how you're gonna execute that project or whatever it is that you have to do at the end of the semester, and start it now. And obviously in accounting, we didn't choose English majors, okay? We don't like to write papers. We are not paper writing people. But if you do have big papers, which I know I did, I went to liberal arts school, so we had to write reflection papers over every single thing ever. Some of them were really long. I wrote a 56-page paper my junior year. If you start that immediately and you outline it really well and you do your research at any free time, and it will save you. You will be so thankful for it later, and you won't have to sit down and write this huge paper in like 2 days or 1 day. You'll go ahead and have the bulk of it done, so I highly recommend that. But that definitely takes self-discipline, and you have to hold yourself accountable. You can't slack off and let yourself slack off and give yourself excuses. Obviously, you're still in college. You are not working full-time. You are working for yourself. If you slack off, you will be the one paying for it. It's not going to be anyone else. So it's whatever your standard is for yourself. Cole, you're kind of interrupting my video. I know you're good. You are good and handsome. Can you go over here? Also, another thing, when you're a professor, if your professor holds study sessions before a big exam or before the final, and you're sitting there, let's say it's like an hour long, an hour and a half long, and it's not helping you, like if you've studied pretty well and you kind of went to see what you're missing and it just sounds like everyone's slacking off, don't stay. You do not have to stay for those. You can get up and leave. It's not rude. The professor is there to help everyone that needs the help. So I left a lot of my study sessions just because I felt like I studied more than where everyone else was at, and it kind of worried me that these kids were asking the most basic questions the day before the exam. But then again, we all have different standards. If they're just trying to pass and you're trying to make an A, you're gonna have 2 completely different study habits. Also, if you're wondering why there's a pot and a pan up here, My mom hung up my artwork from, that was one of the additional classes I took because I had to get 150 credits. I didn't take accounting classes, I just took whatever my community college had to offer. So I took drawing, so you guys can stare at my drawings. I think an important concept in general through college is, again, holding yourself accountable, but not blaming your professor if you make a bad grade. Okay, if everyone in the class failed, obviously there's something there, but if you made a 40 and the rest of the class made a 60, well, you know, you probably should have made a 60. But then again, don't compare yourself to others. It's kind of a weird concept. I never blamed my professor for anything until I took auditing. My auditing professor was really, really bad, and so it was up to us personally to read the textbook on our own and teach ourselves everything. And she ended up getting fired right after our semester. So, I mean, we collectively as a class were like, we can't rely on her for our grade. Like, I wanted to be an auditor, and here I have a horrible professor. So it was up to us, and that's kind of how it is. No matter how bad your professor is, you have to do the work. You have to put in the work. Take the textbook or whatever materials that they provide you and take full advantage of those. Second key to success in upper level accounting, upper level classes in general, if you're not an accounting major, is to stay organized. Get a planner and use it daily. Use it hourly. If you have classes throughout the day, be writing down your assignments that are in the future, that are today, things you should do by tomorrow. I used my planner for personal stuff too, like literally every single thing I had to do, I wrote it down, and they had little check boxes, and I would check off every single thing that I did, and it's super, it's like you feel great, you're like, oh, I'm getting so many things done, and you also have a whole lot more left to do, but you won't forget about the little things, and you don't have to worry about trying to remember all of your assignments, or what textbooks you need to bring, or, you know, all that stuff. It will be written down in your planner. I would highly, highly, highly suggest you get one. I had a full-size planner, like a full-size notebook one, and each page had the entire week, so it had like a whole section for each day, and I would write down a ton because I had so many classes, so many things to do, as I'm sure you guys do as well. And then I would color coordinate by the importance of it, and then I would also, on like one of my semesters, I color coordinated per class, which kind of made sense, you know, use red pen or a pink highlighter for this class, green for this class, but that also helps you stay organized. I also used in my textbooks, I did color coordinate the highlighting by how important it was. You don't have to go to that extreme, but it did help me. I would highlight what the professor said in class, then I would highlight what I thought was important, and then I would highlight what he said was going to be on the exam. I also used Post-it notes, the small little tiny Post-it notes I would stick out of my textbook on tables or charts or diagrams that I wanted to remember, so you can flip through it and see what it is you need to study. Keeping your notes organized is also very important. I personally never typed up my notes. I didn't bring a laptop to class. My accounting staff, any of my accounting professors, did not allow laptops in the classroom, but some people would, I guess, transfer their notes over to their laptop when they got home. That's just what they did. I did not. I only used my laptop for online classes and for writing papers. Otherwise, I did not use it. And Netflix, time to time. So like, I had 5 classes every semester, so I got a 5-subject notebook, and it already had dividers, so it would divide out each class. It's easy to flip to. You can get your class ready, and that way it's all in one notebook. I know a couple of my friends would have a completely different binder for each class, and that's great and super organized, but they were not able to bring all of them at one time, and maybe they didn't have homework in all their classes. Us accounting kids know you will have homework in every single class every single day. There are no days off. So I wanted to make sure it was all compact. I had a 2-inch binder that I would keep all of my notes for all my classes. I'd have dividers, and then I had my 5-subject notebook. So I just had to have that one binder, that one notebook everywhere I went, and I had everything that I needed. Plus bringing the textbook. And you can't really bring every textbook all the time, so you gotta take study breaks, which you should anyways. You shouldn't be sitting down studying for like 8 hours without a break. Your professors most likely will be more organized, more prompt. They'll be early to class probably. The accounting professors, they're kind of more of a type A individual already, as you probably are as an accounting student. If you're not, that is totally fine. But it was hilarious for me to notice my business professors versus my accounting professors. They were just 2 completely different people. And so having that more organized professor helped me as an organized person. Like everything would be like on our online software that we could go and look at our notes and everything. They would be like categorized by day. When the accounting professor, my business professors would just put everything on there, and you had to literally sort through about what topic you're learning, and it was just a mess. But everyone's different. But that is something you will notice. If you can stay organized, your professor probably is organized, and things shouldn't get too messy. You should know when things are due. Number 3 is to get a good, committed study buddy. I took this very seriously, but I was also super blessed with this girl. She was in my class from day 1 of college. We were in the same gateway class. It was like homeroom in high school. It's just like a basic talk about life class. And so that was our very first class of college, and me and her buddied up from day 1. We both came in as business majors. We transferred over by the end of freshman year to accounting majors, and we've literally been in every single class together. So I get that most people will not have that person. I am super thankful for her. Shout out to you, Laura. I wouldn't have made it through college without you. But in the absence of someone like that, each class that you have, if it looks like it's going to be more challenging for you, or if it looks like it's more team-based, as auditing was, then I highly recommend that you partner up with someone in that class, and it doesn't have to be awkward or anything. You know, get their numbers, or if they seem like they're a top student, if they were in some of your other classes, you know, ask to study with them before an exam. It's kind of hard to say no, so I definitely studied with a lot of people that were more slackers than I was, and you know, it slowed me down a little bit, but the initiative that they had to ask me to study with them and to help them through the harder subjects, you know, that's an honor. I'm glad to help them. I want them to succeed as well. Be that person, take the initiative, get study groups together. That's another thing that Laura and I did. Advanced accounting, I don't think it was like advanced accounting 3. We went from intermediate accounting 2 to advanced accounting. That class, we only had like 11 people in that class, and we started out from the first accounting class having like 30. So we had 11 people, and we all kind of became really close-knit because we've all made it through all these classes together. We didn't fail, so we didn't have to wait a whole other semester to take it. So we were kind of just one giant study group, and we would go to the library and study together, and it really was great. But get with your study buddy, get with your study group before exams or before big projects, unless you're not allowed to share information for projects. We weren't, so we had to like work in solitude, which is totally fine. But before exams, like Laura and I would go and reserve a study room in the library, and every campus is different, so I'm not sure what everyone's rules are, but we had to have at least 2 people per study room, and it came with a dry erase board and like a table and I think a computer, and that was really it. They were really, really small rooms, but we went in there before every single exam, and we just did journal entries. We did problems on the board for hours. We would reserve it for like 4 hours before every exam, and it would just be crunch time, like no breaks. We literally sit there focused for 4 hours. And that was the most productive studying for me, I think. And I'm sure Laura would agree. We got a lot done. We helped each other on our different strengths, because she was better at different parts of accounting than I was, and I was vice versa. So we'd help each other out, and it worked out really well. Also, before every exam, we would go into our business building in like a classroom, and we would take over a classroom and sit there and do problems the whole time. That's probably not allowed in most colleges. I went to a really small college, so everything was more on a personal level. There weren't a lot of restrictions, I guess. So we would reserve a classroom just for ourselves and would sit there and study. And sometimes other classmates would come in there, and that's totally fine. If we're all taking the same exam, we might as well help each other out when we can, because they have something to bring to the table too. Number 4. Get to know your professor. And if you go to a really big university or whatever, you may not get to know your professor. That may not even be a thing. But get to know your TA, whoever it is that creates the exams or takes attendance or whatever the case may be. The person who is in charge of your success is the way I like to word it. Again, I went to a really small school, so I knew my professors, all my professors on a personal level, all my business professors. They would text me if I was late to class. There was one specific time that I had to skip auditing and advanced accounting 3 because I was taking a trip. This was on fall break. I took a trip to Cedar Point up in Sandusky, Ohio. So it was like a 12-hour trip. And so I skipped both of those classes. And I told my professors ahead of time, hey, I'm not going to be in class this day. And they were like, that's fine. Well, they had both texted me while I was gone and like sent me links to the notes. And they, like my accounting professor actually sent me handwritten notes, like his notes for the class on teaching. He sent that to me. He said, let me know if you have any questions. And he also set up a time that following Monday to meet with him at 8 in the morning before class so he could get me caught up. And that is awesome. I loved it. But I get most colleges don't do that. Most students don't get that experience. So it will be different for everybody. But I think it is important to know your professor. And even like my non-business classes, all those humanities classes they make you take, I was not a fan of. But I went to professors' office hours. I got to know them. You know, once they put a face to a name and everything, when they're grading, if you're right on the edge of an A or a B or a B or a C, they'll think about it. And they may bump you up, they may not, but it doesn't hurt to get to know them. Same with the TA. Like, my school was so small, we went to a Bible study with my government professor. Guys, I failed government. I'm a straight A student. I made a 46 in my government class and had to withdraw on the withdrawal date because I was like, I can't physically pass this. And I went to her Bible studies every week. I still laugh about that because no other school, I swear, does that kind of stuff. Like, went to her house at her Bible study. Anyways, I just had to share that. It didn't help my grade, but she knew who I was, and she still emailed me like a year later and was asking how I was doing and if I chose to take the other option instead of government. And I was like, yeah, girl, I was like failing your class. The fifth key to success for accounting, I think, is to study every single day. And this is horrible, it is not fun, and you want to take weekends off, and you definitely can if you want to. Again, whatever you think is going to help you for your success. For me, all of my accounting classes and tax classes and auditing class were on Tuesday and Thursday. Therefore, when I left class on Thursday, that's 5 days before you come back. That's a long time. Your brain is not sitting there remembering everything you did. Now, granted, your professors probably won't let you take a day off. They're going to give you so much homework that you have to do it every single day. That's how mine were. But on the off chance that there was a light load of homework, I would make sure that I studied either Sunday or Monday night for Tuesday classes to refresh my brain on everything that we did. And I would suggest doing the recommended homework if it's in a section. I don't know if everyone had recommended homework. We had required homework and then recommended homework. And do the recommended homework if it's something you're slacking in. Obviously do the required homework first. Laura and I would give ourselves homework on sections that we were struggling in. And obviously your textbook has, I don't know, 100 problems per chapter. Let's say your professor assigns you 50 of them. Well, then you have 50 problems. If you're struggling in any of those areas, you can do those problems and it'll help you. And reading the textbook before you get to class, your professors probably beg you to do this and nobody does it. I didn't start doing this until probably my second semester junior year. I would never read the textbook before I came to class, but then it got to where we ran through those chapters so fast and I had no idea what was going on because I didn't read it. So I would read the chapter before I came to class and then I could ask questions, like good questions about the material, because then I could finally, like, he would go over everything and the stuff that I still don't understand after reading it and then after the professor talking about it, then I could ask about it, get it answered, and then we have a solid foundation on that chapter. So I would recommend doing that if you have the time. I know that's a lot of effort put into your accounting classes. But something you do have to remember, as it was hard for me to remember for myself, if you're an accounting student, your top priority is accounting. So you will have lots of homework in all of your classes, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, if you're trying to apply for a job and they look and they're like, wow, you made A's in economics and strategic management, that's great, but you made a C in accounting. Can you explain why you made a C in accounting? You're trying to work for us? That's when it gets kind of iffy. They're not going to mind if you have C's in economics and any of your other classes like business law, all of those stuff you have to take that are really hard. So make sure you put accounting at the top of your list. Make sure you study for it more than your other classes. And it is not fun. Once you get to the really nitty-gritty and you get down to discontinued operations and hedging funds and derivatives, you're not going to want to do it. You're going to be like, why did I choose accounting? It's so awful. Trust me, I know. I was there. But I love my job so much, so I'm so glad I stuck with it. So don't get carried away with the grades. Again, it's not all about the grades either, but try your best, be committed, hold yourself accountable, and you will be successful. And that doesn't mean, let's say you don't make A's, then that's fine. You don't have to be an A student. But the effort is really what matters. Give yourself everything. Don't look back down the road and regret that you didn't study harder, or that you slacked off, or you partied, or you did whatever. Make sure you're staying on top of it. This is your future. And that is so stressful to think about, but it really is. Praying for all of you guys. You guys will make it through. Accounting is awesome. I hate when people struggle with it and then they don't like it. And I'm like, no, accounting's great. It's the language of business. And it really is. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this helped somebody out there study a little better. I know that these are the things that I had to learn the hard way. I wish I had a video to watch that would tell me some things to keep in mind. But anywho, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. My channel is Heaven's Oddventure, and that's because I'm an auditor and I love adventure. So hopefully somebody out there got that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Gidget, what is this? What is this? Your leg's falling out. How difficult these classes are, I just thought it'd be good to have. Well, come on. Hey guys, how's it going? Do you see an ear? I see 4 ears. I know you can't jump that good. Just stay down there. I know you're good. You are a good boy. What are you looking at me like that for? My little YouTube buddies. They not know what YouTube was.